evening, everybody. It's 5:52 on this Wednesday, the 10th of August, and I'm going to try and do this in a shortened version, not cover a lot of the stocks as much as what I saw in the CPI number after the headline. So, great market today. Everybody loves an up market. I even love an up market, and I came into the day with some puts that closed at 51 cents, and they opened at 3 cents, and by 9:45 had gone no bid. So it's still nice to see this kind of market. Of course, the reason for it clearly was the CPI, and if you go a little deeper than the headline number, you find out that there are still some problems. And we have PPI tomorrow. The problems that I'm talking about are things that may not affect the upper 5 or 10% of the economic scale, but for those of us in the lower 80 or 90%, they're pretty devastating. Number one, grocery store food, groceries in general, still up 13%. Cereal up 16.8%. Milk up 15.6%. Coffee up 20%. So, there are an awful lot of people who are suffering now. And, excuse me, while gas and heating oil are down, it looks to me as if the chart on the screen, being the oil, has not bottomed. Has not topped out. It's trying to make a bottom in here. It made these lower lows the beginning of the week. This one, the day before yesterday, was down hard on the day, closing on the high. Then yesterday was kind of an uneventful day. Today, a higher low, and they took it down first thing this morning. A higher low and a close up on the day, $1.43, and the high yesterday 92.65. Today 92.43. I'm fairly certain we're going through that. The point is that this market is trying to bottom in an area where it has bottomed once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. This is the 6th time. And, when they take the oil up, the byproducts, heating oil, gasoline, are not far behind. So you could think all you want about terminal inflation numbers or, peak inflation. But there are still 80% of the people in the U.S. who are going to have to make some very hard decisions when it comes to what they can spend money on if their heating oil or their electricity is higher. In fact, electricity was up 14%, or power, they call it. Airline fares were down. Well, that's great if you can afford them. Excuse me. And I'm not so sure that airline fares are down specifically because of moves to tame inflation, as it is with people being totally disgusted with not being able to count on those airlines to get them where they want to go and get them home when they want to get home. We have a subscriber who made reservations and was taking his family to visit the rest of their family in India. Showed up, made the reservations a month in advance. Showed up at the airport and found out they hadn't bothered to call him, that the flight had been canceled, and they couldn't get him on something for another 2 days, at which point he was forced to give up on the idea of seeing his family. Bottom line here is that this is not over. Yes, there was a rally. If you recall, I've been pushing for this rally and talking about it since we were 3,900. I was looking a little lower than this. I think my high number was between 40.75 and 41 and a quarter. We obviously went right through that. Um, but this is not a particularly healthy market. And I'll put a little finer point on it on one of the stocks that I actually am talking about today, and that is Coinstar. This is a stock that was 44 a couple of weeks ago. It then was 116 last week, um, when they announced a deal without much in the way of detail with BlackRock for the institutional side of the market. At which point, as I said, the stock went to 116. It was up $6 today and it closed at 94. There is no way that you can count on anything when you see a stock that at one point last year traded 429.54, fell back to 200, rallied back in November to 370, and has since come down to $40. As I said, 44 last week, followed by 116, and today closing 94.14, up $1.09. So, you know, it's really difficult. This is a very dangerous market. In good news, Disney beat. They beat top and bottom. Their subscriber growth looks great. The stock closed at 112.43, up 430 before the earnings came. Since the earnings came, it has traded as high as 120.40, and I'm seeing it go by in the extended hours tape at 120.20. So, pretty decent moves here. And a company that really is doing a great job. It doesn't get the same kind of multiple as the other streaming services because it's not just a streaming service. They have the parks, they have the studios, they have ESPN, they have ABC. So, very impressive, and up 10.7% tonight. On the other side was Angie, ANGI, which is the old Angie's List. That's a stock that was $19 not all that long ago, and closed yesterday at 614. Today was down to 481 on a miss in earnings and bookings, and closed at 520, down 94 cents or 15.3. And one more name, kind of a upper end retailer, Canadian Goose, GOOS. This is a stock that came about a year and a half ago, traded from 15 straight up to 72, came back down to $12 in change, down about 53%. And today it closed at 21.68, up $1.63 or 8%, with the earnings coming before the open. Something that I was a little bit disappointed in today was the gold, although it's still another constructive day. It was up $1.40, and it did in fact make a higher high. I'm sorry that it didn't hold there, but it did hold above yesterday's close, and that's a step in the right direction. As I said this morning, this area between about 1825 and 1835 is a very tough area back here, although the volume was relatively low there. If we got a big volume move here, I'd be very impressed. As you can see, we've gone through the 5 through the 20 through the 50, and you know, it's not that I don't expect it to need, if it's going much higher, to need some more consolidation in this area. But any piece of news about the economy and any sign that we're not going to have to raise rates. We've come out of the channel and it looks pretty decent. Another thing that surprised me today was the kind of anemic move. You know, when the NASDAQ has been as strong as it was today, up just under 3%, up 360. We've been seeing more of a move in the cryptos, and today was no exception. And what we had here in Bitcoin was a move of up 2.58, 595. Yesterday it was down 900. The day before it was up 1,025. But the fact is, it is consolidating. It is moving sideways. I'm not sure which way it's going to go. I lean towards the upside, that this is making an important bottom. But I wouldn't trade this at all. I would trade the Ethereum, which everybody who listens to me knows is my favorite, has been, and will remain. It's the platform that most NFTs are built on. It's used much more in commerce, and frankly, it's already consolidated and broken out. 5 crossing the 20 here, 20 crossing the 50 here, and it closed pretty much on the high. And versus the 2 and change percent, 258, that Bitcoin was up, this was up 7.7, so 7.75%, so 3 times as much. Also off the bottom at 1,000 at 1821, we are 82% above the low, whereas Bitcoin is 20 odd percent off the low. In any event, we have the numbers tomorrow, and I will be happy to give you all of those. One more thing I just want to mention: everybody's talking about how great the semiconductor stocks did today. It really wasn't particularly great. I mean, you look at this, let's just go with one, because it's everybody's favorite, it seems. Nvidia. Nvidia was down this week from 192 to 167. It closed today 180 spot 97, and that was up $10 or 5.9%. However, for the week, it was down twice that. And if you want to look at it for the year, it was down from 290. So we've had a 41% decline in what everybody thought, and that jackass Kramer thought was, oh, the best. Jensen Huang, he sees the future, and, same kind of bullshit that he gives us with Lisa Su, who he had on his show when the stock was 138 and was so busy brown nosing and saying, oh, yeah, you got to buy it right here. 138. Down in the 90s, not so great. Haven't heard him talk about that one lately. In any event, maybe these things are turning, but the SMH is still down on the week. Nvidia is still down on the week. Taiwan Semi is still down on the week. You get the general idea. All right, everyone. That doesn't mean that we can't go a little further, but I would absolutely fade this rally. Excuse me. And I'll take a bunch of 50-cent losses in the S&P puts for the one in 10 chance that I'll have a 300% move quickly. All right, I'll be back in the morning.